Kirk's favorite song. So we're going to sing. Wonderful, merciful Savior, precious Redeemer and friend, who would have thought that a lamb could rescue the souls of men? Oh, you rescue the souls of men. You are the one that we praise. You are the one we adore. You give the healing and grace our hearts always hunger for. Oh, our hearts always hunger for. Counselor, Comforter, Keeper, Spirit we long to embrace. You offer hope when our hearts have hopelessly lost the way. Oh, we've hopelessly lost the way. Almighty, infinite Father, faithfully loving your own, here in our weakness you find us, falling before your throne. Oh, we're falling before your throne. You are the one that we praise. You are the one we adore. You give the healing and grace our hearts always hunger for. Oh, our hearts always hunger for. Alright, I'm going to try to sing this one a little faster than we usually do, so just try to keep up with me. Not like crazy fast, but
Not jumping fast.
yeah, not so fast. When you pass through the water, I will be with you, and the waves they will not overcome you. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name.
Jesus is living in his church. Jesus is living. Jesus is living. Jesus is living in his church. Jesus is Lord of heaven and earth. Jesus is Lord of heaven and earth. Jesus is Lord.
Indeed.
Anybody else?
Levi, will you open us up in a word of prayer?
Father, we bless this evening. We lead us in truth. May your Spirit come and give us revelation of your Scripture. Not that we would just merely have knowledge of your Scripture, but we would have a revelation of who you are. Like Father, as you do. Follow after you quickly, walk step. Will you give us ears to hear tonight? Give words to Walter and to Jordan as they speak. We let them make so much of it. Let them speak as they hear and as they practice.
Amen. So tonight I'm really excited. I'm actually partnering with Walter. We're doing a tag team Devo tonight. So something that I don't think has been done. So we'll see how it goes. And so yeah, Walter and I, we've limited ourselves to only 20 or 25 minutes each. So we should be out. No, I'm kidding. We got two of the longest winded speakers up. But no, we actually are going to keep it reasonably short. So no worries about that. We're actually going to be going through Ecclesiastes tonight. And basically we're going to be doing, I guess, kind of like a good cop, bad cop thing. I mean, for really not thinking about, I cannot play that better.
Well, never end!
So back on track, sorry about that. I am going through and kind of going to give more of the negative side about this, about Ecclesiastes. Very true, but a little bit more negative. And then Walter's going to come back and also show more of a positive side to Ecclesiastes. So basically, this started out. I wanted to do this for a long time, and feeling a little bit nostalgic, just probably last even that I'm talking here. But very excited. Basically, Walter, a couple months ago, he was just saying how Ecclesiastes was his favorite book, and whenever somebody's like, "Hey, this is my favorite book," I'm like, I wonder why. So I got to go read that book and see what it is. And Ecclesiastes is now in my top favorites as well, just because of how much I needed to hear, because of how easily my mind gets on selfish things and on wrong things. So open up with me to Ecclesiastes 1:1. Let's start at the beginning. So we're going to read just verses 1 through 4, just to kind of set the premise. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. So very quickly, okay, everybody knows a little bit of backstory on this, hopefully. This is written by Solomon. Solomon is David's son, and he is, correct me if I'm wrong, but the wisest man that was alive, and the richest, and just, he was top dog over everything. And so, first and foremost, that's why I love that this book is talking about vanity and how you're trying to find enjoyment in so many other things. If anybody could have found enjoyment in other things, it's like this guy. He had all the money. He had literally everything he could have possibly done. So, written by Solomon. We'll start in verse 2. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, exclamation point. All is vanity. What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. So, like I said, I'm going to be doing a little bit more of the depressing side to Ecclesiastes, which is a lot. I could just read the entire book and be like, oh man. So I'm honestly, I feel like it's a little bit more of the easier side to this, because it's just all depressing. But well, not all, but it gets you on the right mind track. And set of mind. Just to kind of give you a little bit of a tidbit of that, turn with me to chapter 9, verse 7. Just, I guess I want to show you all how far in depth he goes into what is vanity. It says, "Go eat your bread in joy and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved what you do. Let your garments be always white, let not oil be lacking on your head." And then verse 9 is crazy, because it says, "Enjoy life with the wife with whom you love all the days of your vain life that he has given you under the sun." Because, and he goes on. And it's just like, enjoy all this stuff. And he's like, and in your vain life. He's like, enjoy these things in your life, by the way. It's like, just in vain. So just saying, like, this is going to be a little bit harder lesson to hear tonight. But at the same time, it's going to be extremely, it's biblical. A lot of this is going to be reading straight from this. So, getting into that, I want to get into the main verses that I'm going to be going over, which is going to be chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. Chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. I'm actually going to have a little timer up here so I know. Keep myself locked on time. "I said in my heart, 'Come now, I will test you with pleasure. Enjoy yourself.' But behold, this also is vanity. I said of laughter, 'It is mad,' and of pleasure, 'What use is it?' I searched with my heart how to cheer my body with wine. My heart still guiding me with this wisdom." So he's like, with wine, but heart, he'd still be guided with that. "And how to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks, and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forests of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves, and had slaves who were born in my house. I had also great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold, and the treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, the delight of the children of man. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also, my wisdom remained with me, and whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for all my toil. Then I considered all my hands had done, and the toil I had expended in doing it. And behold, all was vanity and a striving after the wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun." I think this applies to so many of us. First and foremost, if you're like a freshman or a sophomore, I know whenever I was specifically a freshman, my vanity, I was just chasing after girls. My sophomore year, I was just chasing after having fun. And that's even gone into some of these years. I just want to have the most fun I can possibly have. He's he sought out every single possible pleasure, and it's vanity. And as far as girls go, he had 8,000 women. 8,000, and yet he was still not made happy he was made happy, but he still did not see that it was extremely profitable, that it was, in the end, was still vain. I know that now as I'm a senior and about to graduate, some of us upperclassmen, this guy had all the wealth. Legit, it just goes on in other verses, just all his wealth, just naming it off. He had so much more than us, and he was and that too is vanity. And I think about where my heart and where my mind is whenever I am preparing for this next leg in my life, this next journey. Am I so solely focused on money and the hopeful joy that it will bring in my life? Did I even go to college just to be well, I simply want to be able to make more money so I myself can be happier? This isn't the easiest stuff to hear, but this applies to all of us because I want to challenge you to think about why you're doing what you're doing and how you're living. Seeing if it matches up with this, if it's something that's just vanity. And here comes a little bit harder verse, but if you'll go with me to 9, 1 and 2. And this, I'm really excited that Walter's behind me because he can just put a happy smile on this, and I don't have to work at that because that'd be really hard. Starting out, the heading to this chapter in my book says, "Death comes to all. But all this I laid to heart, examining it all, how the righteous and the wise and their deeds are in the hands of God. Whether it is love or hate, man does not know. Both are before him. It is the same for all, since the same event happens to the righteous and the wicked, to the good and the evil, to the clean and unclean, to him who sacrifices and him who does not sacrifice. As is the good, so is the sinner, and he who swears is as he who shuns an oath. So, let's think of, okay, Mother Teresa or Billy Graham or somebody like that. Guess what happened to them? And guess what happened on the other extreme? Adolf Hitler. Guess what happened to them both? Dead. Like, they're going to die in the end. You know? Like, the exact same thing is going to happen to the righteous. The exact same thing is going to happen to the evil. In the end, he's saying he's building up so many treasures, whether it's personal fun or whether it's wealth to pass on to future generations. And his son, he's like, man, I have all this wealth for my son, and I hate it because he didn't work hard for that. And it's crazy to think about what we do on this earth. Like, what are we leaving behind? The Bible tells us to store up treasure in heaven. And I think it's very important that we think about this in an eternal aspect. That we think about our life in an eternal aspect. Sometimes I can't get over the next 2 weeks. What's going to happen after finals week is over. And then after that, I'm just like, planning out my entire life. Our life is a blink of an eye. He continually, in Ecclesiastes, talks about our small existence here on earth. And yet, one of my favorite lines from Gladiator, what we do on this earth echoes in eternity. What are you doing on this earth? Are you living for Christ or are you living for yourself? Are you trying to gain people and bring them to eternity with you? Just weigh the importance of these differences. And it's crazy, and I don't want to take up a whole lot more time. But if you go back to chapters 2 and 3, some things that he says are vanity, things that you wouldn't think of at first. He goes on to say that toil, like hard work, vanity. He goes on to say wisdom is vanity. He goes on to say knowledge is vanity. So just setting a premise there, if you want to go back, please read Ecclesiastes. It's extremely insightful. So just some of these things that we put so much stock in, even the positive things. My wisdom here, like, it's not going to echo in eternity unless I put like an eternal aspect to it and lead people to Christ or grow others closer to Christ. Turn with me to 5, 1 through 7. And this is a little bit off that topic, but it's still extremely important. In Ecclesiastes, I think it should be hit. Because I think that it's something that we do often and we take too lightly. So I'm going to read 5, 1 through 7. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. To draw near to listen is better than to offer the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know that they are doing evil. That's one reason why, like, whenever I'm wanting to worship or listen to a sermon, I just pray for so much focus, because I don't want to be a fool. I don't want to skip anything, and I don't want to just babble on about anything. I want weight behind my words. I want to also hear what God is trying to speak to me. I think it's extremely important that we come into these times focused on God. Be not rash with your mouth, nor let your heart be hasty to utter a word before God, for God is in heaven and you are on earth. Therefore let your words be few. For a dream comes with much business, and a fool's voice with many words. When you vow, this is extremely important, when you vow a vow to God, do not delay paying it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Pay what you vow. It is better that you should not vow than that you should vow and not pay. Let not your mouth lead you into sin, and do not say before the messenger that it was a mistake. Why should God be angry at your voice and destroy the work of your hands? For when dreams increase and words grow many, there is vanity. But God is the one you must fear. I don't know if y'all are sometimes say, oh God, if you just bless me with this, then I'll do this. Or, oh, please just give me this, and man, I'll just never sin again for my entire life. Like, that is a vow to God. Watch out. Like, I can't say that do not take the words lightly that you pray to God. Asking Him for blessings and promising Him something or vowing in any way. Please take your words extremely seriously in that area. But that's the little bit more depressing side. But here's Walter with more on Ecclesiastes.
Vanity of vanities, always vanity, says the preacher. I don't know what was depressing about that. I love that. Maybe it's just my perception of Ecclesiastes is so good. No, when Jordan first asked me to do this, I was really excited because I do honestly see a lot of positive in Ecclesiastes. And that's why I love this book so much. Although, before we start that, if you read the first chapter where Solomon's talking about all his vanity, he's talking about his wisdom, he's talking about all his learning, and I was wondering why I was doing the happy side and Jordan was doing the sad side, because in verse 18 it says, for in much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases in knowledge increases sorrow. So I don't know why we let the business major do the sorrow part. But, no, I told him I was going to make a joke. Thank you for laughing. Who did I tell to laugh at that joke? Because you didn't.
I was.
Alright, so he says, yes, Solomon says everything's vanity. Everything you do is vanity. Everything is worthless, meaningless, because you're all going to die. That's true. I understand that. It's great. But he also says, it's all vanity, but at least wisdom is better than folly. And if you know, as Jordan says, Solomon was the wisest man on earth. And did you touch on that when you said even wisdom's folly?
That he was the wisest man on earth?
No, where he said even wisdom is vanity, sorry.
Yeah, I said that wisdom, toil, and knowledge are vanity as well.
It says that's vanity. But he says it's better than foolishness. So I kind of look at it from a different perspective. Kind of what Caleb was talking about the other day, YOLO. Yeah, it's all vanity. But there is some stuff that's better than bad stuff. So let's get into a little bit of that stuff. If you want to turn to chapter 3, and maybe this will appeal to all the science majors in here. Chapter 3, verse 14 says, I perceive that whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing can be taken away from it. God has done it, so the people fear before Him. That which is has already been, and that which is to be has already been. And God seeks what has driven away. Now, if you flip back to verse 11, we'll read the verse I was supposed to read. It says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, He has put eternity into man's heart, just so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. So Solomon says, God has set eternity in our heart, so that we look out into this great creation, and we'll never, ever figure out what is done from the beginning to the end. If we flip over to chapter 8, verse 14, it says, There is vanity that takes place on the earth, that the righteous people, to whom it happens according to his deeds, are the wicked. And there are wicked people, to whom it happens according to the deeds of the righteous. And I said that this is also vanity. I commend you joy, for there is nothing better under the sun than to eat, drink, and be joyful, for this will go with him in his toil through the days of his life that God has given him under the sun. Now listen to what it says here. When I applied my heart to know wisdom and see the business that is done on earth, how neither day nor night do one's eyes sleep, then I saw all the work of God, that man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. However much man may toil in seeking, he will never find it out. Even though a wise man claims to know, he cannot find it out. Now, the reason this verse applies to me, and maybe all the science majors in here, is because we do look out in the world. We say, this is a wonderful creation. How does it work? I want to know why the flowers open at daytime. I want to know how the clouds drop the rain. I want to know why and how, the laws that govern this world. And if you haven't noticed, God is such an organized God. He is such, like, the only reason that math works is because God says, I want math to work. The reasons that we can define the whole universe in a set of like 5 equations, basically. Clark, don't answer me on that. Is because God put it that way. That's how simple it is, but how complex it is. And we as scientists, and maybe other people here, I'm not trying to exclude anybody else, but we look out and we try and we try and we try and we learn more and more and more. And God says, you will never know how much there is to know. You will never know everything that's in this world. And it's almost like a challenge, you know? It's like, you'll never know. I'm going to try. I know I won't get there. But I know that I can always go into this field and do more experiments and do more research, and I will always find out more. And I'll never reach the end of knowledge. And that's exciting to me. For those of you who don't take excitement in that, maybe Ecclesiastes isn't the book for you. So, going back to chapter 3. If you're much of an oldies fan, you'll know the song that goes with this chapter. It says, for everything there is a season. There is a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to tear, a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace. Who knows that song? To every season, turn, turn, turn. Okay. I'm just an old folkie. But what Solomon is saying here, there really is a time for everything. Like, you're in a bad place in life right now. You're having a lot of troubles. He's like, it's okay. There's a time for that. There's a time to be sorrowful. There we go. There's a time to cry. But there's also a time to laugh. There's a time to be joyful. When I was younger, my mantra used to be, this too shall pass. And I think this fits very well with the theme of Ecclesiastes, because when I would get down into a low point in my life, I would just say, this too shall pass. Because it will. Like, before you know it, it's going just to be done. I was driving home I was driving to Brentwood on Monday, and I'm sitting here in the car like this, and I'm like falling asleep. I'm like, I can't do this. This is so hard. And I'm like, but it'll be over pretty soon, and I'll be in Brentwood, and then I'll be back, and then I'll be here giving the Devo. And I mean, I'm here, like that. It's gone. So whenever we're in bad times, they'll go away. Now there is a downside to that, because whenever you're in good times, they'll go away too. But one day they won't. So that was my mantra for a long time. And Solomon says, there's a time for everything. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is, like, getting in this funk and just staying here. Like, there's a time to be happy and joyful, too. So, whatever your lot in life, wherever you are, that's okay. And I love that. Just a few verses down. Somewhere, I think it's where I just read earlier, that I wasn't supposed to read. 11? Did I read 11?
You read 11. You read 14. You were like,
Yeah.
You read
I don't know. Go to chapter 5, because I noticed in chapter 5. He says it like 7 times in the book, and Jordan even read it once, and I'm like, no, that's the happy part. Stop. But,
Are you talking about another happy part? 5:18?
yeah, 5:12. 5:12, I think, is what I'm remembering. Yeah. Starting in verse 10, it says, he who loves money will never be satisfied with money, and he who loves wealth with his income. This is also vanity. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. And what advantage is their owner but to see them with his eyes? Listen here. I love this verse. Sweet is the sleep of a laborer, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich will not let him sleep. Sweet is the sleep of a laborer. There are many times in Ecclesiastes, and we'll look at them here in a minute, where it says, eat, drink, and enjoy what you do. Because this is the gift of God. Not just that it's vanity. Yeah, we're going to die. But this is God's gift to you. Eat, drink, and enjoy what you do. I think he says that later on. Yeah. Verse 18 says, behold, what I've seen to be good and fitting to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun a few days of his life that God has given him. For this is his lot. Everyone also to whom God has given wealth, possessions, and power to enjoy them, accept his lot and rejoice in his soul. This is the gift of God. For he will not remember the days of his life, because God keeps him occupied with the joys of his heart. So, and like I said, there are several times in this. I'm not going to read them all for time's sake, but I think the agnostic that actually debated Kyle Butt brought this out. 7 times does he say, eat, drink, and enjoy your life. And I think sometimes we get into this, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to be a really, really, really a great Christian and do everything, which we do. Not saying you don't have to be a great Christian. But I think we take that as a burden, where Solomon says, it's okay to enjoy yourself. It's okay to enjoy your life. In chapter 9, which is what Jordan read, verse 7, it says, go, eat your bread with joy, drink your wine with merry heart. For God has already approved what you do. Let your garments always be white. Let not oil be lacking on your head. Enjoy your life with the wife whom you love, all the days of your vain life that he has given you under the sun, because this is your portion in life, and in your toil with which you toil under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For there is no work or thought or knowledge or wisdom in Sheol to which you are going. Enjoy your life. Now, he's not saying give up, and we'll look why he's not saying you just go out and do whatever you want at the end. But when you're here, God has given you everything. And there's a verse in the New Testament that says, God has given us richly all things to enjoy. Jesus said, I came to bring you life. I came to bring you new experience, this joy, this enjoyment. I can't think of a better synonym. But so enjoy yourself. Now, again, we'll look at taking that too far, because he did. But eat, drink, and be merry, basically. There's also a lot of phrases that we get from Ecclesiastes, like when you hear the phrase, a little birdie told me, that comes from chapter 10, I believe. Or eat, drink, and be merry comes from this one. There's one more, a common phrase that we get from Ecclesiastes, which is just a side note. But Jordan read in chapter 2, where Solomon says, I've tried everything. I have all this money, so I'm going to find happiness. I've tried singers, I've tried land, I've tried concubines, I've tried eating and drinking. I've tried it all. And trust me, Solomon could have had anything he wanted. Like, think of the richest man you can think of. Who's the richest man in the world today? It's not Bill Gates. I think it's some guy in Mexico, actually. I think Bill Gates is number 2. But think of the richest man in the world today. Solomon was probably 10 times richer in his time period. I'm just being honest. Like, Solomon had everything. It was Israel's golden age. It says that silver in his day was as nothing, like as copper coins to us. Silver, because there was so much gold in the lands. Everybody from near and far came to him. He didn't fight any wars. The temple was built. Solomon had everything. And he says, I can't find any satisfaction in all of it. Here's the good news in that. We don't have to strive after everything. We already know there's no satisfaction in it. So if you spend all your life striving after this wealth and this big CEO company, and you get there and you realize, I'm not happy. I'll be like, well, Solomon told me that years ago. So I don't have to worry about all that. There's a story about a man who has a couple of cows grazing in the field. And he's just sitting here on a tree, leaning back. He's relaxing, enjoying himself. And this, I'm going to say, American guy comes over and he says, no. You're doing the farming thing all wrong. See, what you need to do is you need to take your cows. You need to go out to the market and you sell it for the highest price you can. And you need to buy more cows. And then you need to get more land, and you sell those cows again, and you get more and more, and then you need to hire some servants under you so they can work your land, because you have like 10 fields now, and you have like thousands of cows. And then you can buy and sell, and then eventually when you get, 50, 60, 65, you can retire with all this money and enjoy yourself. And the man on the tree looks at him and is like, so what you're saying is, I'm going to work all these years and years and years because I'm going to get to sit in a tree and enjoy myself. He's like, yes! Doesn't that sound great? It's like, yep. I'm going to do what I'm doing now. Because he was already doing that. He was already sitting on a tree with his few cows that he had, and he was enjoying himself. And that's what we need to take. It's like, we read the verse that says, he who loves money will never be satisfied with money. And that's so true. And I'm sure you know that today, even though we aren't as rich as the rich, even though you are in the top 8% of the world. So we are very, very, very rich. But we're still not satisfied. And Solomon says you're never going to be. So enjoy yourself now. And I love that. Because I don't have to chase after all these things. I'm not saying that I don't, because that's the temptation we all face. But he's saying, I've been there, done that, don't do it. Sweet is the sweet sleep of a laborer. Enjoy your work. That's why I'm a big proponent of when we get out into the world and we find our job, you really need to find a job that you really enjoy doing it. It might not pay what you want it to pay, but the point is you need to enjoy what you do. Because that's our lot in life. That's what God has given us. All right, so 2 more things, and these are probably my favorite 2. In chapter 11, my favorite chapters in this book are 5, 11, and 12. Yes, I like that book that much. This was when I was first reading through this book, this is what caught my eye. This is why I like it so much. In chapter 11, in verse 6, it says, in the morning sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand. For you do not know which will prosper, this or that. But whether both alike will be good. Now you look at me like, I don't get it. I didn't get it either. Like I'm going to explain it in a way which I think I get it. That's the way I like to hear it. I don't know if this is exactly what it's saying, but what I hear from that is try multiple different ways at things. If you want to reach a goal, go at it from different angles. I do that all the time. I love keeping my options open. I love trying different ways of doing stuff. And he's like, because you don't know which way will prosper. Or maybe they'll both be good. Like maybe you'll try 4 different things and they'll all profit you. And Solomon is basically like, don't give up. When you want something, go do it and do it right. Whatever our hand finds to do it heartily. I'm mixing up a verse. But there was a verse that says, do it with all your might. That's what it was. Whatever we find to do. And Solomon says, try different angles. You want to go to grad school? Apply to 15 of them. Maybe 8 of them will say yes, or maybe 2 of them will say yes. You choose one. I made a major life decision today too, by the way. But I was a little overwhelmed. But he says try and try different ways because they might all be good. And I love that. So, but here is probably the penultimate point of Ecclesiastes. The whole thesis of the book. The reason that I think this book exists, and if you ask an atheist, they say that this was added on later and blah, blah, blah. But God works through providence, so if it's in the Bible, it's supposed to be okay. Like, I believe in a big, big God who can give us his word no matter what man tries to do to it. So I believe that if it's in here, he wanted it in here. Because there's a lot of books in the Old Testament that are lost. And we don't know why they're lost. I would love to read them, but they're not there. So I think they're lost for a reason. Anyway, side note, verse 11, and all of y'all taking finals will love this verse. Verse 11 says, the words of the wise are like goads, and the nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings. They are given by one shepherd. My son, beware of anything beyond these. Of making many books there is no end, and with much study is weariness of the flesh. Can I get an amen? Much study is weariness of the flesh. So you should just stop. Just stop. No, if you're not a senior, you don't get to sign. But here's the penultimate. That was just a side note. What is the meaning of life? Like, we ask that question. Society has asked that question for years and years and years. What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? And Solomon says, I know. I got it. 12:13. This is the end of the matter. All has been heard. Other versions say, let us hear the conclusion of everything. Like, I said everything's vain, but here I'm going to wrap it all up, right here. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. And that's why I said I don't think Solomon believed you could go out and do whatever you want. I believe he tried that, and he got very depressed, as you can see throughout this whole book. But he says, fear God and keep his commandments. What's the meaning of life? Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole of man. The Hebrew actually doesn't have the word duty in there. It says this is the whole of man. That is man's all. That is what our purpose is. We're here to fear God and keep his commandments. And that's why I love this book. Because even in the midst of this dark, you can tell depressed man, because he's got too much knowledge, too much wisdom, too much money. He's got too much of everything. Even in all that, you can see these glimpses of hope. And in the end, he says, I've got it. After all this time, I figured it out. I'll never be satisfied with money. I'll never be satisfied with women. I'll never be satisfied with entertainment. You can only be satisfied with God. Fear God and keep his commandments. For God will bring every deed into judgment, whether good or evil. And that is the meaning of life. That's what I got for you.
I had one more thing to say. So I like it when things come like full circle, I guess, like in a book or in a movie or something like that. And I wanted to bring something full circle. I think the only people that might remember it might be Harrison and Melvina. But my sophomore year, I gave a talk here at the CSC. And I said, so basically, my freshman to senior year of high school went by like that. I was the same, very much the same person I was my freshman year than my senior year. It's 4 years since I first gave that talk here at the CSC, and it's gone by like that. Freshmen, sophomores, don't wait till tomorrow to better your relationship with God. Don't wait till tomorrow to desire God more. Don't wait till tomorrow to crack your Bible open or start praying more to God. Don't wait till tomorrow to try and fight sin more. Because tomorrow is going to be over like that. But trust me, it was 4 years ago yesterday that I gave that devotional. Seniors, we're starting out a new life, a whole new blank slate. It's kind of like we're going into the freshman of real life. And 4 years is going to go over like that. So once again, keep our eyes set on God and focus on God throughout all of it. But so that's my God. Circle up. Circle up.
Can we do that huddle? I like the huddle place. I go to most of the time. Okay, let's do the huddle.
Huddle! Not a circle. Huddle. Huddle. For huddling.
Huddle.
I like it too. Just have to make sure. Huddle! What am I? We don't have.
Allie's like, no, it's not going.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Well, I do, but nobody else does.
They're back there.
Hey, Chesney, call it.
Bring it in. We love you.
Come on.
We want to feel you. We need like one.
All right. We're gonna sing the default song when Caleb begins to pick a circle song, which is the greatest commands. And Clark, will you mind saying that for us?
Yes, we would have sang that one.
Someone